First of all, thank you for meeting with me today for our pre-conference.
Of course.
So the last time I was in your classroom, I was looking and listening to you teach a lesson on students restating questions, proving their answers, and then also citing where they found those answers.
Yes, exactly.
I think we both kind of decided together on our post-conference that they were doing an excellent job with that. It seems like this is something that you can continue working on, but it doesn't seem like something you necessarily need support in. One thing that we did discuss last time was the fact that you'd like to see your students using more inflection in their voices.
Absolutely.
Can you talk to me a little bit about where they're at right now with that, specifically the group I'm working with in terms of decoding versus fluency?
Definitely. So as of right now, their fluency is just about grade level. It's almost there.
Okay.
Again, they're at this point really working on decoding. They've kind of mastered that skill, and so now they're just starting to use inflection. They're just starting to use that expression, and so I'm encouraging that, but it's not coming natural quite yet.
Okay, excellent. So with that being said, I would like to teach a lesson in your class, maybe provide you with some strategies there to continue to encourage using expression, inflection in their voices. In terms of points of view, whether it be the narrator or different characters, is that something that would work for you as well?
That sounds super helpful, absolutely.
Excellent. So, with that being said, our roles when I come in your classroom will be basically reversed as what I did last time.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about what your role will be?
From the sounds of it, like we had talked about a little bit before, you had mentioned I'm just specifically looking for the things that I hear, the things that I see, either from you or the students.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, this is actually what you will have in front of you when you are just looking and listening, watching me teach your lesson.
Okay.
So basically you'll write down facts of things that you're seeing, facts of things that you're hearing.
Gotcha.
If you have any questions or concerns about this, you can take a look at that for just a second, and then I'll leave that with you today so that when I come in again on Friday, if you have any concerns beforehand, you can kind of look through that to review that.
Thank you.
Are there any other class norms that I should know about? I know we mentioned show me you're ready, you use the clapping method.
No, I think we covered it.
Okay, so if I continue to use those, that would be
absolutely
pretty relevant for them.
Definitely.
Excellent. Modifications for this group of students, there really aren't any because they're reading at the same level. They'll continue to read that book, The Secret School, this week as well.
Yep.
Excellent. So really what I want to let you know is if you were working with a different group of students, say one of your lower reading groups, this might not be something that you're going to introduce to them right away. As you said, they're working maybe on decoding a little bit more.
Absolutely.
However, it's something that you could kind of blend in when you feel like they're ready.
Okay.
In terms of my role through the lesson, I will obviously take on your role of teaching. I'll still be in the same vicinity here at your rainbow table where I notice that you teach your small groups. One thing that I'll also try to implement and have you see will be your students working together in partners.
Okay.
If they're all there, it'll kind of work out perfectly. I believe there's 6 of them, so they'll each have a partner.
Wonderful.
The idea there is that they'll be able to hear each other read, give each other feedback as students, and I'll ask for your feedback on that to see how you feel like that went when we have our post-conference.
Absolutely.
So, with that being said, I think I have some resources here that I can go through with you before the lesson on Friday. Does Friday still work for you to come in?
Definitely.
Same time? And I'll kind of go through these with you, but you'll see them when I'm teaching the lesson as well. If you have any questions or concerns about these, we'll review that again. Absolutely. So, any other questions before we go forward here?
No, I think at this point you've covered it all, and I'm really excited about it.
All right, excellent. So I will see you on Friday, and we will get going with that lesson.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you for meeting with me today.
Thank you.
So the last time you met with Miss Stevens, you were talking about what? You were talking about evidence. Tell me a little bit about that.
About citing.
Citing your sources, Meg.
Finding where they're at and proving it.
Finding where those questions, the answers were, and then proving it, right? Now, I saw that you guys were doing such an excellent job with that. One thing I saw was when my friend Matthias was reading, he was doing such a wonderful job. But I noticed something about something Miss Stevens said when you were reading. And it was something about reading with fluency. Do you know what that means, reading with fluency? What does that mean? What do you think, Zachary?
To like not stop after every word.
Okay, so he's saying not to stop after every word. Can you give me an example of that, James? Like, give me a sentence where someone would stop after every word.
My name is James.
Did you hear him stop after every word there? James, do it again.
My name is James.
There you go. What does he sound like when he says that? He sounds like a robot, right? Okay. He sounds like a robot, maybe a little bit of a zombie too, Matthias. Now, when we read sometimes, especially my second graders, a lot of times they're beginning readers. They're learning how to decode their words and really understand the vocabulary. But us in third grade, you guys pretty much know the vocabulary in this book, right? You're able to really zip through those words. But what I really want to work on today is using fluency. Not reading like that robot that James was just reading like. Because when we're listening to someone read, it's all about characters and really hearing those different points of view, using lots of what we call expression in our voice. Can someone explain to me what is expression? Meg?
Like, if there's like an important part in the book that they're asking a question, like you could like raise your voice and be like, and she asked, what?
Okay, so kind of raising your voice at times, maybe bringing it down at times. Maybe even if are there different characters in your book, The Secret School?
Yeah.
I'm assuming so, since I see many different friends on our cover here. So with those different characters, do you think that maybe you could use a different voice? What about the narrator? Where does that come into play? Is there a narrator in this story?
So,
Okay, what do you think, Jeannie?
I start because, like there's a lot of words that like says so I don't understand.
Okay, so when there's a narrator speaking, we could almost use a different voice for that too, right? So let's talk about what is fluency, what isn't fluency. So what's something that fluency is? I heard you say it's reading with, you said, expression, Megan said. Yes, reading with expression is definitely fluency. What's something that it isn't? What would I say? No, that's not fluency. That's not reading fluently. What do you think, Zach?
Like not stopping after the punctuation.
Okay, so yes, if you ran right through a period, he's saying not stopping at punctuation. Is that reading fluently? No, we want to make sure we catch those punctuation marks. Absolutely. That's a big one. Nice work on that. Okay, so catching punctuation marks, that would be reading fluently. Not catching them, not fluently. Okay, Jeannie?
Like maybe talking about robot is like go like smooth.
Reading like a robot is not reading fluently, right? Okay, so what I want to show you is on our poster here, we have a lot of different things about strategies you can use to not sound like a robot, okay? Because it's very easy to fall into that pattern. Believe me, when I was learning to read, I read many, many, many books like a robot, but it's just not fun to listen to. So one thing that we talk about is using a storyteller's voice. Meg mentioned something about characters, using expression. When we do that, that is what's called using a storyteller's voice. You're going to be reading from different characters' point of view. Can you read that second one to me, though, Simone?
Put words together like they're talking.
So we're putting words together like we're talking. If you notice when you say a sentence, just like you're talking to your buddies, you're talking to your mom, your friend, you're putting words together when you're talking. So let me read something to you. This is a poem. And I want you to give me a thumbs up if you think I'm reading fluently, or a thumbs down if you think I'm not reading fluently. Okay? The poem is called Sick by Shel Silverstein. I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. I have the measles and the mumps. Okay, I'm seeing thumbs down. Why? Why are my thumbs down? Matthias.
Because you're speaking like a robot.
He noticed. I was speaking like a robot. Now, was I decoding all of the words? Did I say them all correctly?
Yeah.
They were all said correctly, absolutely. I was able to read those words, but was I reading them with fluency? No. Should I try it again? Okay, here we go. I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. I have the measles and the mumps, a gash and rash and purple bumps. My mouth is wet, my throat is dry, I'm going blind in my right eye. How did we feel about that time? I see thumbs up this time. What was different about my voice that time around? Jeannie, what was different?
Like, so for the character, it made it sound like it is like really talking, not like a normal voice, like it's like you.
Okay, so she's saying it didn't sound like my normal voice. Like the voice I'm using right now, it didn't really sound like that. What did you notice when I went from Peggy Ann McKay to saying, said little Peggy Ann McKay? What did you notice about my voice between those two lines? Yes, Simone. I changed my voice again because now I wasn't being the character there. I was being a what? Say it louder.
Narrator.
Absolutely. Be confident in your answers. A narrator. Wonderful. So what you're noticing is I want to show you this page that I have here in front of us. This is my poem, Sick. And if you notice, I've kind of grouped those words together. Do you see those swoops? I'm going to show my group over here, Matthias. I'll make sure I turn it to you as well. So I cannot go to school today. Do you see that fluency of scooping those words together, putting those words together like we're talking? I cannot go to school today instead of saying I cannot go to, I can't even finish that sentence, it's so boring, right? So what I want you to make sure you do today while you're reading is not only using expression in your voices, but also making sure you're flowing those words together and scooping them like you would if you were just talking to a friend. Does that make sense? Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to do a little activity where you're going to be working with a partner. So whoever you're sitting next to, I want you to face them. And I'm going to give you a group of cards, and you're going to have 3 different cards there. What I want you to do is you're going to read each card. Now, I'll read the sentence to you right now, but I'm not going to put any expression into that sentence, okay? So this sentence says, I cannot believe you did that. Then we have, oh, I didn't think you would come to the party. And finally, I have, today is Friday. Now, when you heard me read those, you have no idea how I feel about any of those sentences, do you? No clue, right? Because I didn't use any fluency or expression in my voice. Now, your job with your partner is you are going to choose a type of character voice and expression and feeling behind it, and your partner has to guess which one you're doing, okay? So you can either choose to do an angry voice. Maybe you're feeling angry about it. Maybe you're really, really excited. You're super excited about what you're about to say on that card. Maybe you're really sad about it. Or maybe you're not going to use fluency at all, and they have to guess that you're a no fluency robot. Okay? So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and turn to your partner, work through those sentences. I'm going to check in with each one of you and swap off. Let each partner read the sentence once or twice. Choose a different voice each time, and your partner has to guess which one you're using with the expression that you're showing from your voice. Okay, go for it.
I cannot believe you did that. Today is Friday. Excited. I cannot believe you did that. Excited. Yes. Oh, we didn't think you'd come to the party. Oh, I didn't think you'd come to the party.
Good one, Zach.
Oh, I didn't think you would come to the party.
Oh, I didn't think you'd come to the party. Kind of angry.
I like the attitude you put into that one, Jeannie. Okay, 5-9.
Sadness. I can't believe you did that. Today is Friday.
No fluency.
Yes.
Today's Friday.
Yeah. Excellent though. What was that one that you were trying to work on there? Because we can do it again. Which one were you thinking of? Was it sad or was it angry?
It wasn't any of those.
Oh, was it this one? Is it this one?
No, it wasn't any of those.
Oh, what did you come up with your own expression? Okay, so what were you thinking? What were you trying to show us? So how did you feel about that? Like surprised maybe?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't think you'd come to the party. Okay. So you were kind of turning it into a question?
Oh, you didn't think you
Okay.
were coming to the party.
Okay, my friends, I'm going to have you gather back together. What I want us to do now is let's share out just a couple of the ones that you came up with and the ones that you were doing. What I did notice is that I would say 90 to 95% of the time, your partner was able to guess. And I saw some of you go, oh man, I didn't want you to get it. But really, that's a good thing that they guessed it because that shows that you were using strong fluency and showing your expression in your voice, what kind of emotion you had. That's why we use fluency, so we can really understand more about how that person's feeling. Okay? Would anybody like to read one of their sentences, and then we'll all guess what kind of emotion they're using? Simone, go for it.
Oh, I didn't think
Listening.
you would come to the party.
What do you guys think?
Excited.
Excited? Excellent. Okay. James.
Today's Friday.
Megan.
What do you guys think? Angry? You know what else I really like that James did there? He not only used it in his voice, he kind of like moved his arm. When we're reading, we can do kind of things like that, absolutely. When I'm reading to my class, or I'm sure when you're reading in front of your peers, it's good to use kind of actions and things like that. It brings more to it. Maybe one more friend to share. Jeannie, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't think you come to the party.
She's got a lot of attitude there. What do you think, everybody? Angry. She was kind of angry. She added a little bit of that attitude to it, too. She was not happy. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you guys to do today is, yes, you may read with your partner. So you have both of your books together. You can read a page together. You can kind of look over it separately. If you'd like to look over it separately, I would like you to use one of your whisper phones right here so that you can hear yourself read first and then read it to your partner, okay? I have a bookmark for you, though, that I'd like you to keep and look over. Take a look at that first part. What does this look like? It looks like what? What does this bookmark remind you of? What does this bookmark remind you of? Yeah, our poster over here. So this is kind of a tool for you to take with you so that you can keep these strategies with you as readers. Read the first one for me, Zachary.
Really, storytellers will
Okay, and we know what that means now. It means not reading like a...
robot.
Absolutely. And read the second one for me there, James.
Put words together like you're talking.
Excellent. So I also have another page for you. Those are the two that we focused on today. There are other ones that we kind of touched on and went over. I know that Zachary mentioned noticing punctuation when you're reading. Is that also important? Absolutely. And hey, it's already on there, Zach. You called that one out for us before I could even go over it with you. So what I want you to do is, this is a page that you can kind of, while you're reading, you may write down some sentences that you're reading and then show me how you're scooping those words together like you're talking. Kind of like I did here with our poem Sick. Does that make sense? Okay. What I'd really like you to focus on, though, is the reading part today. Since we're kind of running short on time, I'd like to hear you reading for at least the next few minutes with your partner. Matthias, would you grab our whisper phones back there so that we can pass them out? And then what I'd like to see you do is with your partner, practice reading a page on your own, or maybe even just a section, and then I want you to read that to your partner with expression, with fluency, okay? I'm going to pass one of these out to each one of you. Please go ahead and open up your books. You can open up from where you left off, where you're reading with Miss Stevens. The important thing is now we can go back. One thing I say to my students a lot is we always reread for fluency. So rereading is not a bad thing. Rereading means I'm going back and making sure I'm adding expression in my voice. Any questions before you begin? Yes. Great question, Simone. Can you bring that to the group though so that everyone can hear you?
Do you want to read? Do you want us to read the fluency first and then read the
So she's asking, should I read without fluency, then with fluency? Actually, what I'd like you to do today, Simone, is try reading the entire time with fluency. So if I pulled out a page here, I'm gonna pull open to a page. I'm on page 78, and I'm going to say, I'm just gonna quickly read through this paragraph and figure out how would I say this with fluency. So I have my whisper phone on, pretend whisper phone, and I say, Ida said wretchedly when she went into the sheep barn to tell her father what had happened. I'm no good at anything. Okay, so how would I say that? I've thought about it. Now I'm going to reread that paragraph, making sure that I use inflection and expression. So, Ida said wretchedly when she went into the sheep barn to tell her father what had happened. I'm no good at anything. Do you see how that time it was a little bit different? You heard that fluency in my voice? So yes, Simone, I would read through it and just think about how am I going to add expression in my voice. And then when you're reading it, you can still, on your whisper phone, practice before reading to your partner. Okay? And again, it's okay just to choose paragraphs to practice and read with your partner. You don't have to choose an entire page. Megan.
Actually, I have like a helpful thing.
Yes.
If you like use your bookmark just at the top and just follow along with that, so you don't lose your spot.
Absolutely. My students do that a lot where they track their lines to make sure that they're on the right line there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let you work with your partners. I'm going to check in again with each of you to make sure that you are on task and reading with fluency. Okay, go for it. Yes, of course. Okay, go for it, guys. Did you pick a page that you really like? Okay, find a page. Did you pick a spot that you really like, Simone? Okay, find a spot. And then I want you to read that spot to me and Matthias using fluency.
But the main thing is, because I won't ask. Just stay. Because I bet school board wouldn't let us do it. We won't ask. So let's just do it on our own. The secret school asked me, but Natcha said this morning, I already told my parents school has was going to close. So they had
I'm going to pause you for 1 second. So here's what I want us to do. Let's go up to the part where Tom says, but the main thing is, see up here where he says, but the main thing is,
Tom says, but I bet,
because I bet.
because I bet the school board wouldn't let us do it. We won't ask. We'll just do it on their own. Secret teacher.
Pause there for 1 second. What kind of word is secret? Do you see how it's kind of, yes, you're right. I'm sure you've gone over that. Italics. It's in italics. So when a word is in italics like that, with fluency, when we read, we would really put a lot of emphasis on that word. So I might say it like this. A secret teacher? Felix asked. And then how would Mary say it next?
A secret school, said Mary. But Masha said the family. I already told my parents school is going to close.
Pause. I want you just to focus on that one section, and I want you to practice it in your whisper phone and then bring it to Matthias here in a second. Okay? Matthias, did you pick your part that you really like? Okay, find just one small section, practice that using fluency, and then I want you and Simone to share yours together. Okay? Go for it. did we pick our spots that we really like? Okay, what did we pick? Okay, 22, page 22. And what spot are you going to read to your friend Zachary? Okay, starting where though? Okay, go ahead and read to me, just quietly, and then we'll share with Zachary. Okay, pause for a second. Right there. Who's talking in that sentence? Perfect, Mrs. Benson. But when the narrator starts talking, should I hear a difference in their voices? Yes, absolutely. So go ahead and start right there again. How would a woman say that sentence? There we go, maybe raise your voice a little bit. Like Mrs. Benson. Okay, go for it.
With a smile as the hand is crossed, baby.
I want you to try that sentence one more time. It started to get a little bit. It did. Okay, go back. That's why we reread for fluency. I say it all the time. Keep going.
Just been waiting for you to come home, Mrs. Benson said with a smile as she handed the baby over. Felixia in the barn said to say you will meet soon as you got
Good. Make sure, remember, you were using that raised voice for Mrs. Benson. And you really did that in the beginning. I like the way that you did raise your voice because I could hear the difference between the character and the narrator. Excellent. Okay. Please, how are we doing over here? Okay. Friends, I'm going to have to pause us because unfortunately you need, well, I guess fortunately for you, you are going to lunch, which is good. What I'd like you to do, though, is the next time that you're reading your books, still focus on this fluency strategy and putting words together like you're talking. When you're working independently, this is something that you can work on. And then when you come back with Miss Stevens the next time, I'd really like to hear you reading what? With fluency and lots of expression in our voices. One thing I'd like to point out to the whole group, I was talking with Simone and I was talking with my friend James. James had something where he read a sentence where it was a woman character and then the narrator. So James came up with what? Using a little bit of a higher voice, right? And that really worked out because you could tell the difference between Mrs. Benson, right? And the narrator. See how that works? It's almost like my friends who are in the play, it's almost like being in a play, right? You're putting on different voices for different characters. And instead of being in a play and being one part, guess what? You're all of the parts, right? Which is kind of fun. You get to put on different personas. What I'd like you to do is please just take with you all of the materials. I'll take the note cards back from you. I can take your whisper phones as well. And then you are ready to go get ready for lunch. Thank you so much for having me in your classroom today, my friends. You are so welcome. The bookmarks are yours. You are. Thank you again for having me in your classroom last Friday to teach the lesson to your small group.
Of course.
Again, I was so impressed by them knowing the routine for guided reading. The rest of your students were working independently. Your students came immediately over to the rainbow table with their materials, their books, everything necessary. They were definitely engaged, I felt, while I asked them questions. They participated in the conversation. I didn't really have to pull from them. It was more so just giving them the confidence to answer. They had those answers right there at the tip of their tongues. I noticed that some of them did have some prior knowledge as well, which was great going into that lesson. During the reading itself, did you feel like there was anything different in the way that they approached their reading with their partners on Friday when you were watching that lesson?
Yes, I'd say definitely. I think what they did a really nice job with was when I'm working with them and you know, my main focus is just their comprehension questions and coming up with those. So they rarely get a chance to really work on their inflection and to not only work on their inflection, but receive feedback on that. So that was huge, and I think they did a really nice job with it, and I was very impressed as well.
Great, that sounds awesome. I'm glad to hear that you feel that we kind of did something different today that then they can take with them as they move forward into those comprehension questions. Because, of course, comprehension is the key with reading. We just want to make sure that as a parallel, they're also reading fluently at that time. They'll have increased comprehension with that increased fluency.
Perfect.
When they were working in their partners, how did you feel in terms of them being engaged? Was this something that you feel like you would continue?
Absolutely. I think that they did a really nice job. I felt as though, like for me, for example, I never really realized that you could do that. I never thought you could have guided reading your students work in partner. So it was a really nice addition, and I think it's a nice way to change it up. I think they were very engaged, and they kind of held each other accountable. And at the same time, I think it took a little bit of that stress off of having to read out loud to the whole group. And so when they're practicing those skills, doing it with a partner a little bit more quietly, I think was really helpful for them.
I think that's a great point you make about reading to one person as opposed to reading with the group. Even though it's a small group, I even noticed the same thing with your students. When it became whole group, they kind of got a little bit quieter. But again,
and
with
they skipped
practice,
over the words a little bit, and they were just a little bit more nervous. And that's because they're not
Absolutely.
really used to doing that. And that's something that I definitely look forward to increasing.
great. So using that partnering strategy will be something that you could take forward in the future here.
Definitely.
Great. As we move forward with these strategies in terms of using fluency while reading, what ideas can I help you come up with in terms of working with peers? Is there something that we could develop together that I can help you with to assess?
I think what would be helpful, possibly, I know we had spoke before of like a possible rubric to go off of.
Okay.
I think that would be helpful for me just because, again, I'm really not used to what to assess when I'm listening to fluency. I know in my head, oh, that sounds great, but as far as breaking it down, that's not something I'm quite used to yet. So I think a rubric would be helpful with that.
Excellent. So in the next couple weeks here, I'd like to continue practicing that fluency for them.
Perfect.
And then once you feel that they've kind of had enough practice time, you and I can sit down prior to that and sit down and really crank out what objectives specifically you're looking
wonderful.
for. And also in terms of level-wise, like a 4, 3, 2,
Right.
1
Right.
scale.
Awesome.
Okay. One suggestion that I have for you in terms of holding them accountable is also when they're working independently, would this work for your class to keep their whisper phones at their desk?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I could definitely be okay with that. I think maybe, yes, in that area for sure.
Okay. What I've noticed is that when students are able to hear themselves read, whether it's in their head, quietly whispering, they're then going to use that fluency independently reading.
Awesome.
Then they'll become more comfortable with it when they come back here in your small group or even whole group when you're reading aloud.
Okay, wonderful.
Excellent. So we will create that rubric together, and then let's plan to reflect on your students' growth here in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
I would also suggest that possibly bringing those fluency lessons to your other small groups if they're ready for it.
Absolutely.
Again, we mentioned only if they're not at that level of decoding.
Right.
We talked about that. It seems like your other groups would be ready.
Mhm.
So once you've brought those lessons to your other small groups, I think we can start working on that checklist.
Okay.
And then I will come in and see if your students have been able to master those skills.
Awesome.
Okay? Sounds
Thank
great.
you so
Looking
much
forward to
for
meeting
your
with you
help.
again.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.